They called him the Winter King. Alpha King, Lyson Frostborn, 35 years old. Ruler of the Northern Territories for 15 years, without a single moment of warmth or mercy. His wife, the former queen, had died in childbirth 2 years ago. He'd mourned for exactly 3 days, then returned to ruling with the same cold efficiency he brought to everything. No emotion, no weakness, no attachment. Just the crown. Just duty. Just ice. I'd worked in the palace kitchens for 6 months and never seen him smile. Never heard him laugh. Never witnessed anything that suggested he was more than a beautiful, terrifying statue come to life. The other servants whispered about him, said his heart had frozen the day his mate died. It said he'd loved Queen Alara so completely that her death had killed something in him that could never be revived. Said he was more ice than wolf now. I believed them. Until the night the nursery caught fire. Until I ran into the flames. Until everything changed. Chapter 1. The Fire. The alarm bells started at midnight. I was in the servants' quarters when I heard them. Loud, urgent. The pattern that meant emergency. That meant danger. That meant fire. I ran to the window, saw flames licking up the eastern tower. The tower that housed the nursery, the royal heir, Prince Kieran, 2 years old, the kingdom's future, the only thing the Ice King had left of his dead queen. I was running before I made a conscious decision. Down the servants' stairs, through the kitchen, into the main corridor where chaos had erupted. Guards running toward the tower, servants fleeing from it, smoke billowing through doorways, heat radiating from stone walls that had stood for 300 years and were now burning. "The prince!" someone was screaming. "Someone get the prince!" I pushed through the crowd, saw the tower entrance, saw flames dancing beyond it, saw guards standing at the threshold, standing, not entering, arguing about the best approach. "We need water. The smoke is too thick. We should wait for the fire brigade. We don't have time." The captain grabbed a guard's arm. "Someone has to go in now." But no one moved. They stood there, arguing, planning, waiting, while a 2-year-old burned. I didn't think, didn't plan, didn't wait. I grabbed a water bucket from a servant, dumped it over my head and shoulders, soaking my dress, my hair, my skin. Then I ran into the fire. "Wait! Stop her!" I didn't stop. The heat hit me like a wall, like running face first into a furnace. It stole my breath, seared my lungs, made every instinct scream to turn back, to run, to save myself. I kept moving forward. The hallway was an inferno. Flames crawled up the walls like living things. The tapestries, ancient, priceless, burned and fell in burning sheets. The carpet beneath my feet was melting. I could feel it sticking to my shoes. Could smell burning rubber mixed with burning wood. The smoke was thick, black, choking. I couldn't see more than 2 feet ahead, could barely breathe. Each gasp filled my lungs with heat and ash. The nursery was at the end of the hall, 30 feet that felt like 30 miles. I counted my steps, kept one hand on the wall to orient myself. The stone was hot, burning, but I needed the guidance. Needed to know I was going the right way. 10 steps. Flames licked at my wet dress, met moisture, hissed and tried again. 15 steps. A chunk of ceiling fell to my left. Missed me by inches. I felt the heat of it. Heard it crash and send up a shower of sparks. 20 steps. My lungs were screaming. The wet fabric covering my face was drying out. Soon it wouldn't protect me anymore. 25 steps. I couldn't see anything now, just smoke. Just burning orange glow. Just heat so intense I felt like I was being cooked alive. 30 steps, the nursery door. I reached out, found the handle. The metal was hot. Not just warm, hot, burning. The kind of heat that meant serious injury. I grabbed it anyway. Pain exploded through my palm. I felt skin blister. Felt flesh stick to metal. Bit down on my scream and pulled. The door opened. Smoke poured out. Thick. Suffocating. Worse than the hallway. I couldn't see anything. Couldn't hear anything except the roar of flames and the hammering of my own heart trying to burst from my chest. "Kieran," I shouted, choked immediately on smoke, coughed, couldn't stop coughing. "Kieran, where are you?" A small cry, weak, terrified, barely audible over the fire. But there. I followed the sound, crawling now because the smoke was worse at standing height. My burned hand screamed in protest. I ignored it, kept moving. The carpet was burning beneath my hands and knees. I could feel it, could smell my dress starting to char where it touched the floor. Had to find him. It had to. My hand hit wood. The crib. I pulled myself up, looked over the rail, and there he was. Prince Kieran, 2 years old, his face red from crying, tears streaming through the soot on his cheeks, coughing, gasping, terrified in a way no child should ever have to be, but alive. "I've got you," I gasped, reached in, pulled him against my chest. His small body was so hot, feverish from the heat. "I've got you, little prince. We're getting out of here." The ceiling groaned. I looked up, saw the massive wooden beam directly above us starting to crack, starting to fall. No time to run, no time to dodge. I curled around Kieran, made my body a cage, a shield, a barrier between him and death. The beam fell, crushed into my back, burning, heavy. I felt ribs crack, felt skin split and sear, felt pain so intense my vision went white. But I didn't let go of the prince, didn't drop him, didn't loosen my grip, held him tight against my chest where the flames couldn't reach him, used everything I had left to push the beam off, to get to my knees, to stumble toward the door. Everything was burning, including me. My dress was on fire, my hair was burning. I could smell my own flesh cooking. But Kieran was alive, and I was going to keep him that way. I made it to the hallway, stumbled, fell, got up. The exit was ahead. 20 feet. 15. 10. I burst through into the corridor. Guards swarmed me. Someone ripped Kieran from my arms. Someone else threw a blanket over me, putting out the flames consuming my dress. "The prince," I tried to say. "Is he—" "He's fine." The guard captain. His face was pale with shock. "You saved him. He's fine." I collapsed. The last thing I saw before darkness took me was a pair of ice-blue eyes. Cold, shocked, staring at me like they'd never seen anything like me before. The Winter King, watching me die. Want to see what happens when an Omega saves the future of the kingdom? Want to know why no one else went in? Want to discover what the Ice King does when he sees someone sacrifice everything for his son? Stay with me, because this is where everything changes. Chapter 2, The Aftermath. I woke to pain. Everything hurt. Every breath was agony. My back felt like it was still on fire. My hands were wrapped in bandages. My face, I could feel the tight, burning sensation that meant blistered skin. I was alive. Somehow, impossibly, I was alive. She's awake. A female voice, gentle. The head healer, maybe. "Your Majesty, she's waking up." Footsteps, heavy, approaching. I opened my eyes. Slowly. Everything was blurry. A figure stood beside my bed. Tall, broad-shouldered, radiating cold authority. Alpha King Lyson, the Winter King himself, in the healing halls, looking at me. "You're awake," he said. His voice was exactly as I remembered. Cold, controlled, empty of emotion. "The prince," I managed. My throat was raw from smoke. "Is he—" "Fine. Not a scratch on him. Because you used your body as a shield." His eyes, ice blue, intense, studied my face. "The healers say you have severe burns, broken ribs, smoke damage to your lungs. You should be dead. Sorry to disappoint." His expression didn't change. "Why did you do it?" "Do what?" "Run into a burning tower, risk your life, nearly die for a child you don't know." His head tilted slightly. The guards were planning their approach. They would have gotten to him. When? After the ceiling collapsed? After the smoke suffocated him? After I stopped, coughing. Pain lanced through my ribs. Careful. He handed me a cup of water. The healers said you shouldn't strain yourself. I drank. The water helped. A little. The guards were too slow, I said quietly. Someone had to go in. So I went. You're a kitchen worker, an Omega. You had no training, no equipment, no reason to risk yourself. He's a child. I met his eyes. That's all the reason I needed. Something flickered in his expression. So brief, I almost missed it. Then the ice was back. The council wants to reward you, honor you, make a public show of the brave Omega who saved the Heir. His jaw tightened. I wanted to speak with you first, to ask what you want. I want to go back to work. You can't work, not for months, your injuries. Then I want to be useful somewhere else, anywhere. I don't need rewards or honors. I stopped. I need to be able to support myself. I have no family, no pack. If I can't work, I can't eat. His eyes narrowed. You have no pack. I'm a lone wolf, was abandoned as a child, raised in an orphanage, been on my own since I was 16. I tried to shrug, failed. Pain shot through my back. I'm used to it. He stared at me for a long moment. You risked your life for my son, he said quietly. And you want nothing in return except the ability to support yourself. Yes, no gold, no position, no title. I just want to work. That's all. The Winter King, the man who showed no emotion, no warmth, no humanity, looked at me like I was a puzzle he couldn't solve. What's your name? He asked. Mira. Mira Ashwood. Mira. He said it carefully, like he was memorizing it. You saved my son's life. I owe you a debt I can never repay. You don't owe me anything, Your Majesty. I did what anyone would do. No. His voice was firm. You did what no one else did, including my own guards, including wolves trained for exactly this kind of emergency. He stood, looked down at me with those ice-blue eyes that held nothing, felt nothing, except they weren't quite as empty as before. Rest, he said. Heal. And when you're recovered, we'll discuss your future. You won't be returning to the kitchens. Your Majesty. That's an order, Mira Ashwood, not a request. He left. I lay in the healing bed and tried to process what had just happened. The Winter King had come to see me, had spoken to me, had asked my name, had looked at me like I mattered. It was probably just gratitude. Nothing more. But something about the way he'd said my name made my heart do strange things. Chapter 3. The bond I healed slowly, painfully. The burns were the worst. My back was a mess of blistered, scarred skin where the beam had crushed into me. The healers said I'd carry the marks forever. Physical proof of what I'd endured, of what I'd sacrificed. My hands were wrapped in bandages for weeks. The palm that had grabbed the burning door handle took the longest to heal. The head healer said I was lucky to keep full use of it. I didn't feel lucky. I felt like I'd been turned inside out and put back together wrong. But I was alive. And so was Prince Kieran. That was what mattered. The king visited every day. At first I thought it was duty, obligation, a king checking on the servant who'd saved his heir, making sure I was properly cared for, making sure the palace's debt was being acknowledged. He'd come in the morning, stay for 10 minutes, ask how I was feeling, listen to the healer's reports, thank me again for what I'd done. Then he'd leave, professional, distant, cold. But something changed around the 5th day. He started staying longer, started asking questions that had nothing to do with my injuries. Where are you from originally? The orphanage in Millbrook, small town 2 days south of here. What brought you to the capital? Work. The orphanage doesn't keep you past 16. You have to make your own way. I shrugged, failed. Pain shot through my shoulders. The capital had jobs, so I came here. Do you have any family? Anyone we should notify about your condition? No, no family, no pack, just me. Something flickered in his ice-blue eyes when I said that. Something I couldn't quite read. That must be lonely, he said quietly. You get used to it. Do you? He looked at me with an intensity that made my breath catch. Get used to it, I mean. Or do you just learn to pretend it doesn't hurt? I didn't have an answer for that. On the 7th day, he brought books. The healers said you're bored, that you keep trying to get up and help with things despite being ordered to rest. He set a stack of volumes on my bedside table. I thought you might appreciate something to occupy your mind. I looked at the titles. History, poetry, adventure novels. A surprising variety. Thank you, I said. But you didn't have to. I wanted to. He said it simply, like it was obvious. You saved my son's life. The least I can do is make your recovery less tedious. On the 10th day, he brought Kieran. The little prince toddled in holding his father's hand. His face lit up when he saw me. The lady, he shouted, pulled free and ran to my bedside. Papa, it's the lady from the fire. I know, Kieran. That's why we're here. The king's voice was gentle in a way I'd never heard before. Remember what we talked about? About saying thank you? Kieran looked at me with serious eyes. You saved me. Papa said you ran into the fire and got hurt bad. I did. I smiled at him despite the pain it caused my healing face. But you're safe. That's what matters. He studied my bandaged hands, my burned arms, the visible damage the healers couldn't hide. Does it hurt? A little, but it's getting better every day. He touched my hand gently. I'm sorry you got hurt because of me. My heart broke clean in half. Oh, sweetheart, it's not your fault. None of this is your fault. Papa says you're a hero. Kieran looked at his father for confirmation. He says you're the bravest person in the whole kingdom. I looked at the king. He was watching this interaction with an expression I'd never seen on his face before. Soft, almost vulnerable, and like seeing his son's smile was healing something inside him that had been broken. Papa also says you're pretty, Kieran continued with the brutal honesty of a 2-year-old. He told Uncle Marcus that yesterday. He said your hair was like sunset, and your eyes were really pretty even with the burns, and Uncle Marcus laughed, but Papa got mad, and that's enough, Kieran. The king's ears had gone slightly red. Why don't you show Mira the picture you drew for her? Over the next few days, the visits got longer. The king would sit in the chair beside my bed, and we'd talk, really talk, about his childhood, about what it was like growing up knowing you'd be king, about the weight of the crown, about Alara, his first mate, Kieran's mother, and how losing her had felt like losing half his soul. I loved her, he said quietly one evening. Completely. The way you're supposed to love your fated mate. And when she died, he stopped, swallowed. I died with her, or the parts of me that knew how to feel did. I'm sorry, I said. That must have been unbearable. It was, for a long time. He looked at me. But then you ran into fire for my son, and something shifted, like, he searched for words, like watching ice melt, degree by degree, until suddenly the frozen river is flowing again. Your Majesty, Lyson. His voice was firm. When we're alone, please, call me Lyson. Lyson, I tested the name. I don't understand what you're saying. I'm saying you make me feel again. I'm saying that for 2 years I've been frozen, and you're teaching me how to thaw. He reached out, took my bandaged hand carefully. I'm saying I come here every day not because I owe you a debt, but because I want to. Because seeing you is the best part of my day. My heart was racing. That's just gratitude. You'll feel differently when I'm healed. When I'm back to being just another servant. You could never be just another servant. His ice-blue eyes held mine. Not to me. Not anymore. Papa also says you're pretty, Kieran continued innocently. He said that to Uncle Marcus yesterday. He said, That's enough, Kieran. The king's voice was gentle but firm. His ears were slightly red. Why don't you show Mira the picture you drew for her? Kieran pulled a folded paper from his pocket. opened it proudly. It was a child's drawing. Stick figures. One large figure with a dress holding a smaller figure. Flames drawn in red crayon all around them. "That's you," Kieran pointed. "Saving me from the fire. Papa helped me with the flames. He said they should be big because the fire was really, really big." "It's beautiful," I said honestly. "Can I keep it?" "Yes," he beamed. "Papa said you'd like it." The king cleared his throat. "We should let Mira rest." "But I want to stay." "Kieran." A single word. Patient, but unyielding. The prince sighed dramatically, then leaned up and kissed my hand. "Thank you for saving me. I love you." He said it with such simple, absolute certainty, and something in my chest cracked open. "I love you too, little prince." The king took Kieran's hand, led him toward the door, but he paused, looked back at me. "He's not wrong," he said quietly. "You are a hero, and you are pretty, burns and all." He left before I could respond. I lay in bed staring at Kieran's drawing and trying to understand what was happening. The Winter King was melting. I could see it, in the way he looked at me, in the softness when he spoke to his son, in the fact that he came every single day. But mate bonds didn't work like that. They snapped, instant, undeniable. This was something else, something slower, something earned, something I didn't know how to name. Chapter 4. The Recognition. They let me out of the healing halls on the 15th day, still bandaged, still hurting, but healed enough to walk, to function, to return to some semblance of normal life. The king had given orders. I was to be moved to guest quarters in the palace proper, given a position as something he hadn't specified, just said I'd never work in kitchens again. I was walking through the garden, slowly, carefully, relearning how my damaged body moved, when I felt it. The shift in the air, the weight of an alpha's presence. I turned. The king stood at the garden entrance, watching me. He was in simple clothes, no crown, no formal robes, just a man in the late afternoon sun. "You're walking well," he said. "The healers cleared me for light activity." I gestured to the garden. Thought I'd take advantage of the nice day. He moved closer. "How are you feeling?" "Better. Sore, but better." "Good." He was close now. Close enough that I could see the fine lines around his eyes. Close enough to feel the cold radiating from him. Except it wasn't as cold as before. "Mira," he said quietly, "I need to ask you something." "Yes, Your Majesty." "Do you feel it?" His ice-blue eyes held mine. The pull, the connection, the thing that's been growing between us since the fire. My breath caught. I don't know what you mean. I think you do." He took another step closer. "I've felt mate bonds before. My bond with Alara snapped the moment we met. Instant, undeniable. This is different." "Different how?" "Slower. Earning. Like..." He stopped, searched for words. "Like watching ice melt. Degree by degree. Until suddenly the frozen river is flowing again." He raised his hand, touched my cheek. Gentle, reverent. "I was frozen, Mira. For 2 years. Since Alara died. I felt nothing. Wanted nothing. Just existed in the cold." His thumb traced my cheekbone. "Then you ran into fire for my son. Used your body as a shield. Nearly died to save him. And something in me, something I thought was dead, started to feel again. Your Majesty, Lisan." His voice was rough. "When we're alone, call me Lisan." "Lisan," I whispered. "I'm nobody. I'm a kitchen worker, an orphaned Omega with no pack. You're a king. We can't. Why not?" "Because it's impossible. Because the court would never accept it. Because you need someone worthy of being queen. Someone with bloodlines and connections, and I need someone who runs into fire to save my son. Someone who asks for nothing in return except the ability to support herself. Someone who makes Kieran laugh. Someone who makes me feel alive again." He cupped my face in both hands. "I need you, Mira Ashwood. And I hope, You need me, too." I stared at him, at the Winter King, who wasn't quite so winter anymore. "This is crazy," I said. "Probably. The court will object." "Let them. You barely know me." "Then let me learn. Let me court you properly. Let me show you that what I feel isn't just gratitude or obligation or—" I kissed him, cut him off the same way I'd cut off my own doubts. His lips were cold, but warmed quickly. He kissed me back like a man starving, like someone who'd forgotten what warmth felt like and was desperate to remember. When we broke apart, he was staring at me with wonder. "The bond," he breathed. "I feel it. It's snapping into place," I finished. "I feel it too. The mate bond. Not instant like his first, but earned, built degree by degree through sacrifice and healing and slowly melting ice." "Marry me," he said. "What?" "Marry me. Be my queen. Be Kieran's mother. Be my mate." He kissed my forehead. "Be mine." "Lyson, this is too fast. I wasted 2 years being frozen. I'm not wasting another moment." His eyes were fierce. "I'm claiming you, Mira Ashwood. Publicly. Completely. Let the court try to object. They will object. Violently. Then they'll learn what happens when they try to stand between me and my mate." He pulled me close, careful of my still healing back. "Say yes. Please. Say you'll be mine." I looked at this king, this man who'd been ice and was learning to be fire again, at the small prince who'd already claimed me as his, at the impossible, beautiful future being offered. "Yes," I said. "Yes, I'll marry you." He kissed me again, and for the first time in 2 years, the Winter King smiled. Epilogue, 6 months later. The coronation took place in spring. I stood in the throne room, wearing silver and white. The Luna's crown, Alara's crown, rested on my head. Heavy. Ancient. Mine. The court had objected. Loudly. The council had voted against it. Lyson had overruled them all. "She saved my son," he'd said coldly. "She risked her life when none of you did. She has more right to stand beside me than any noble-born Omega in this kingdom." They'd bowed to his will, as they always did. Now I stood beside him, crowned, claimed, his mate, his queen. Kieran stood at our feet, 4 years old now, wearing a tiny crown and looking very serious about his role as prince. "Do you, Mira Ashwood, accept the duties and responsibilities of Luna? Do you swear to protect this kingdom and its people with your life if necessary?" I thought of running into fire, of using my body as a shield, of choosing to save a child over saving myself. "I do," I said clearly. The court erupted in cheers. Lyson pulled me into his arms and kissed me as his people celebrated. "Thank you," he whispered against my mouth. "For what?" "For running into fire. For saving my son. For melting my frozen heart," he smiled. "For being brave when I was too broken to be. Thank you for seeing me, for choosing me, for—" Kieran tugged on my dress. "Mama, can we have cake now?" I'd asked him to call me that. Asked if it was okay. Told him his mother, Alara, would always be his mother, that I would never try to replace her. He'd hugged me and said, "Mama Alara is in heaven. Your mama here. Papa said I can love you both." Now I bent down, picked him up despite the lingering soreness in my back. "Yes, little prince, we can have cake." Lyson wrapped his arms around us both. His family. Hard won. Earned through fire and sacrifice and slowly melting ice. "I love you," he said. "Both of you." "We love you too," I said. Kieran kissed his father's cheek. "Even when you're grumpy?" "Especially then," Lyson said, and laughed. The sound filled the throne room. The Winter King had melted completely, and in his place stood a man who'd learned that sometimes the coldest hearts could be warmed by the fiercest fires, by the smallest sacrifices, by love that ran into flames and refused to let go.